Week 1 is officially in the books, and the Las Vegas Raiders sit atop of the division with a record of 1-0, coming off a nice Week 1 win over the Denver Broncos, a game in which a ton of new players debuted for the Raiders, including their brand new starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, coming into this game, both these AFC West teams had a lot to prove, and people around the fan base were starting to lose faith in Josh McDaniels and his ability to lead a winning football team. And for the Broncos, they just hired a brand new coach in Sean Payton to try to turn things around for Russell Wilson in that offense. Now, with that being said, this game meant everything for both of these organizations. At the end of the day, the Raiders win a tight one in 17-16, and all I have to say is that a win is a win. And throughout it all, we've actually learned a ton about this new look Raiders team. In this video, I'll be breaking down why I believe the Raiders are in the midst of having a breakout season and could potentially even make a huge run for the playoffs this season. Now, the biggest question mark heading into the start of the season was Jimmy G. It was a very bumpy road to the start of the season for Jimmy and the Raiders, mainly because, just before the start of training camp, news broke that if Jimmy G couldn't pass his physical, he'd be released from the team, leaving them with Brian Hoyer and rookie Aiden O'Connell. However, things went as planned, and he was able to pass his physical. Early on in camp, Jimmy G did struggle a ton, and quite frankly, things were not looking good for the Raiders. And Jimmy G was very turnover happy in practice, and their franchise running back Josh Jacobs was holding out. Everything seemed like it was going downhill. However, just as quick as things went downhill, things went right back up. Josh Jacobs signed a deal with the Raiders, and Jimmy G started feasting in practices. In Week 1, Jimmy was a clear winner coming out of this game. Although we didn't have a perfect one, specifically with that red zone interception, things looked really solid. He actually came out of Week 1 scoring a high 81.1 as the Raiders' highest rated offensive player according to PFF. And overall, Jimmy G had a rating of 85.7, which is third highest of all quarterbacks going into Monday Night Football. Jimmy had an amazing completion percentage of 80.8 and even contributed in the rushing attack, tallying up 11 yards and had the game closing out carry to win them the game late in the fourth quarter. Now, another newcomer who looked tremendous was Jacoby Myers, another former New England Patriot. Raider free agent wide receiver Jacoby Myers got off to a tremendous start with his new squad, hauling in 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he did leave the game early due to a massive blow to his head. Kareem Jackson delivered a crushing blow, and he had to sit out for the rest of the game, and he is in the concussion protocol. But what a start for Jacoby Myers for when he gets back healthy. Now, Sunday was his first multi-touchdown performance of his career, and the 9 catches that he had tied for the second most he's had in a single game. Even the 81 yards is 8th best out of his 61 game career. He and his quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo had a strong connection throughout the entirety of the game. And as his offense under Jimmy G continues to build chemistry, I only expect them to get better from here. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow might have some rust right now, but watch out, because when they get back into the rhythm of things could get really scary. I mean, Josh Jacobs only had 19 carries, 48 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. Listen, that's not going to happen again. He is going to continue to, knock that rust off. Remember, he didn't play at all in training camp, so he is really getting into the swing of things right now. And then defensively, Max Crosby undoubtedly had a good game in Denver. He led this team with an 89.7 PFF grade. However, the rest of the Raiders' defensive line was, quite frankly, terrible. The next best defensive lineman for the Raiders, according to PFF, was John Jenkins, who posted a very underwhelming 59, which is not amazing at all. However, before we continue on to talk about some of the more people or the more players that really stood out to me in this Las Vegas Raiders offense and defense, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family. I'm going to be covering the Raiders all season. That includes analysis videos, post-game shows, and I'm going to be live streaming some Raiders games in the future as well. So make sure you guys join the family, and also check out Underdog Fantasy if you guys love playing fantasy football. Go check it out. Link in the description. They are amazing. You guys can put in higher, lower picks and draft your team with no stresses in the world. All you have to do is draft a team and play in some leagues. But without any further ado, let's get right back into the video. Las Vegas is going to need the rest of this team, the rest of this defensive line to come in here and just play better next week, heading to play the Buffalo Bills. And listen, the Bills are coming off a very tough loss to the Jets on Monday Night Football. They're going to do whatever it takes to improve. Josh Allen threw 3 picks, and they just won the game, and the Jets didn't even have Aaron Rodgers. So the Bills are coming, and they're going to move the ball a lot. So the Raiders defense is going to need to play better, especially that defensive line. Now, defensively for the Raiders, there were 2 more players that I want to bring up for them. Diablo, Nate Hobbs. Coming into the season, coverage was Diablo's biggest area of improvement. So, it is worth noting that he earned the highest single game PFF coverage grade of his career by over 20 points with an elite 90.7 mark on Sunday, and Diablo has proven already that he has taken this offseason so personally and wanted to come back better than ever, and that's exactly what he did. That also ranks 3rd among all linebackers over the weekend, and Diablo was targeted 5 times but allowed just 3 catches for 0 yards and 3 stops in coverage. It's hard to ask for much better outing than that. He has looked amazing through camp, and he showed that in week 1 versus the Broncos. Then lastly, with a team-leading 12 total tackles, Nate Hobbs was certainly active in Mile High City, and he made a handful of great plays against screens or short passes, and he finished with 3 coverage stops, which was tied for 3rd amongst all defensive backs for the week, and his 80.7 coverage grade is 12th best of the NFL. Listen, the Raiders came out of Denver with a huge win to start the season and look to bring that same energy next week to take on the Buffalo Bills. However, if they want to win, they will need to be even better than what they were in week 1. But the good news is they've had guys break out at a ton of different positions, especially on this defense. I mean, they had 1 guy at each level really show out, including Max Crosby, Diablo, and then Nate Hobbs. 1 guy of each group really looked good offensively. I think Jimmy G looks good. He can continue to build on that game. That pick wasn't completely his fault, but wasn't amazing either. Jacobs, we know how good Josh Jacobs is. I think he'll be fine. But overall, this Raiders team is improved from last season, and they look to only get better from here. Hopefully, Chandler Jones is back sooner rather than later. Comment down below your prediction for the Raiders this season, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Today's video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And if you love playing fantasy sports like football, basketball, baseball, and so many other sports, but also love being able to win money, you're going to want to stick around for this whole segment. Introducing Underdog Fantasy, the ultimate platform for fantasy sports lovers. Do you want to experience the thrill of drafting your team and competing for huge prizes? Well, look no further. With Underdog Fantasy, you get access to a wide range of fantasy sports, including football, basketball, baseball, and so much more. But here's what makes Underdog Fantasy stand out from all of those other apps. They've got quick and user-friendly drafting process, a unique and exciting game formats, fair and competitive contests for all skill levels, and attractive bonuses and promotions. Not only can you draft teams and compete with others, but you can also play a game of higher and lower, which is personally my favorite thing to do on there, but you can potentially win 20 times the money you put down. And if you use code MattyDubs when you sign up, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. And what that means is basically when you deposit, let's say $100, they'll give you a free $100 to use and play with. Click the link in the description to get started, or head to the website right now to start dominating the fantasy world. And don't miss out on all the fun. Be a part of the Underdog community starting now. And don't forget, if you use code MattyDubs, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Let's get started. Get into drafts with me starting today.